Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
It's not the start you want to have, obviously, but it doesn't change the way I feel about this team. You know, 7 years ago to now, I still feel the same exact way. 3 games is such a small sample size of the season. I haven't lost any confidence in this team.
At the end of the year, we'll look back on this series and think it was a good RPI series win for us, and because I think College of Charleston's a heck of a team, and they're going to win 40-plus games, and I'm sure, and win their league again, and so maybe it'll look good on the resume.
Well, I tell you what, you lose one baseball game and you think the world is going to be caving in on top of you. Friday, Gamecock fans are ready to jump off the bridge. Sunday, Tiger fans ready to follow after they ended up losing that series to West Virginia. The Gamecocks did bounce back to take 2 from Charleston on Saturday to win that series, but people need to realize it's a long, long baseball season, 53 more games to go, and there's plenty of time to correct your mistakes. Of course, if you're a Clemson fan, you're a little bit concerned because you saw some things this weekend that reminded you of the failures of last season, errors, not hitting with runners in scoring position, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see if the Tigers can get that figured out as they move into this week. Welcome into Sports Talk as we follow the bouncing ball once again. We're in Atlanta tonight. Yes, it is nasty outside, but we beat the weather. The weather, fortunately, is pretty much to the north and west of the city of Atlanta, and we're in downtown Atlanta where it's cold and it's been raining, and they're calling for some slippery conditions out there. But the nasty stuff, the ice and the snow, has not made it into Midtown. And so we are here at the beautiful McCamish Pavilion on the campus of Georgia Tech. It's Clemson and Georgia Tech. My first opportunity to come to this arena, K-Mac in the pro back in the downtown Columbia. Guys, Dan Radakovich, when he was the AD at Georgia Tech, had a big hand in designing this building. And if the new Little John, or whatever they call it after they rebuilt it at Clemson, looks like this, wow, they're going to have a great place. This is one beautiful facility.
Now, the question for you is, where are you sitting tonight?
We're in the Radakovich section, which means you're at the very top of the arena. But it's not all that bad. I'm at you're sort of almost hanging over the court the way the seats are angled here. And so it's really not a bad view. Obviously, I prefer the seat along the sideline, but this isn't all that bad. But this place, it's got seat backs everywhere except behind one of the end zones where the students and the band will be. They've got aluminum seating there. But individual seat backs everywhere else, it's just a beautiful, beautiful facility. I look forward to seeing what Radakovich does with Little John. K-Mac, any major news involving the Gamecocks or Tigers thus far today?
No major news. We've got the polls out for baseball as the first weekend of the baseball season is in the books. As we brace for an ice storm here across the Palmetto State, we're going to talk some baseball.
Upstate.
And, and then, of course, USC. Corn, you're going to make the trek over from Atlanta to Athens to check out the Gamecocks tomorrow night.
That is correct, and we'll be back. More sports talk coming up here on this Monday night. Couldn't tell if your countdown was for the music or for the music beginning.
No, that's all. If I give you that just by itself, that's always your actual timer to get out.
I couldn't hear any music. I think I have my headsets. I'm trying to mute as much as possible the sound inside, and I think it was muting the sound coming down to me.
Yeah, my damn keyboard got stuck there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, did I come up okay though?
Yeah, no, it was fine. I typed out live and then hit enter, and then I kept seeing you look down there. I'm like, what is he doing? And then I realized it didn't go through.
We don't have a camera on you, do we?
No.
You can't. I mean, you can see me, but I can't
I see you just fine.
Yeah. How you like my little icon there? What do you call that? Avatar?
Is that the city?
Mm-hmm.
The Peachtree State, bro.
All right, so do we have Frank Martin? Have we acquired that? Are we going to acquire it?
We're looking around for it.
They don't have it up on their website?
Not yet, no.
Strange. There's our Frank Martin. Did you find the answer to that question?
Corn, I feel like I probably threw that away after I told you what it was.
It was Dick Singleton, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, if I heard the name, I knew I'd recognize it.
All right, Dick Singleton.
Correctamundo.
My dad, I can't believe my phone died on me. That doesn't make any sense. I didn't get any.
You got out like 4 words. Hey, my phone's about to die. Bring me up. Boop, and there it went.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't on the phone that much on my ride, and it had been charged up until about 12 o'clock. Signal holding well, nice and clean and crisp.
Yeah, we're about to hit the tough stretch run here in the next 20 minutes, though.
Yeah. The internet here is kind of slow.
All right, stand by. Here we go.
It's a Monday night sports talk from Atlanta. We're at Georgia Tech. Clemson and Georgia Tech going to tip it off in about 41 minutes. Boy, the Tigers, they look great on Saturday. They came out of the gate against Virginia Tech on fire. They were hitting almost everything they were throwing up. Jordan Roper had a tremendous game, and if the Tigers come out that way tonight, they could possibly pick up an ACC road victory, which would be, of course, very useful for them at this point in the season. The Tigers are 7-6 in the league, 15-10 overall, with Syracuse out of the ACC tournament because of their self-imposed sanctions. The Tigers right now are 6th in the ACC standings as it pertains to that. So they've got a chance to finish well up in the upper half if they can finish strongly here in the regular season. Georgia Tech has had its struggles. The Yellow Jackets are 2-11 in the ACC, 11-14 in league play, and they do have some talent on this team. They always have good players, but they have certainly struggled, and they have really struggled over the years. Here recently against Clemson, Tigers have a long winning streak against Georgia Tech here in Atlanta, straight, and just had the upper hand on Georgia Tech here in recent years. Brian Gregory trying to get things moving in a forward direction now in his 4th season at Georgia Tech, but really struggling this year. This should be, by the numbers, a pretty low-scoring game. Of course, Clemson doesn't score a whole lot, but the Tigers clamp down on you defensively, allowing just 60 points per game. Georgia Tech only averages 64. So I imagine this will be a game played or low 60s in all likelihood. We'll talk more about the game coming up in a little bit. 800-956-7266 is our number. Email talkback at Sports Talk, on Twitter at Sports Talk SC, on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network, and, of course, the website is Sports Talk. With us on Twitter tonight from here in Atlanta. And, of course, check out the post-game coverage on our website, sportstalksc.com. Tomorrow night, I'll be in Athens, make the short ride back down the highway towards Columbia, stopping off in Athens for USC in Georgia. And what can you about Gamecocks on Saturday? I know they're playing country. Hard to explain the difference in the performance in Columbia versus the performance in Lexington. You can say it's just the fact that they're playing in rough arena, guys, but to go out and lay that kind of an egg is hard to did his best to try to explain it after the game by saying that, the effort wasn't there, the intensity wasn't there. He wasn't happy with that by his players. And, I don't understand how you can go into a game against the number one team in the country and not play with every bit of effort and desire that you have, K-Mac.
Well, when you're playing a team like Kentucky in Rupp Arena, that desire and energy can get sucked right out of you by a team that's just having its way with you. And that's what it looked like to me. That combined with the fact that as each of these losses pile on for the Gamecocks, it takes them down a little bit further and further in terms of their confidence. And they look like a team right now that's not playing with enthusiasm and confidence because losing takes that out of you. That's just natural. I mean, if you continue to get slapped down every single day, eventually you're going to be cowering when you're walking around. And this is a completely different looking team, just their body language compared to the team back in December that pounded Oklahoma State, that beat a good Clemson team at home, that went to New York and beat a very good Iowa State team. That team played with confidence. That team kept grinding. That team had energy on the defensive end that led to offensive points. They had confidence shooting the ball. Now they don't have confidence. Teams have a scouting report on them. Everybody knows what they like to do and don't like to do, and they're taking away the things that they want to do. It's getting bad. And now all that happiness that was being built by Frank Martin around his program, all of a sudden,
Hello.
Negative. Gamecock fans are starting to turn a little bit, and that frustration is starting to seep in, and that's disappointing to see, I know, if you're Frank Martin.
Well, it is, but I think the Gamecocks have seen what happens when they lose patience and you change coaches like you change underwear. You have to ride it out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. No one should be saying, fire the coach.
Here's the thing, guys. The ball, when the ball does not go through the net, the confidence just goes down. It's similar. You see the resurrection of the Clemson program. Jordan Roper, who had plateaued for almost half of last season and the first third of this season, now has suddenly rediscovered his stroke, and it's not by accident that Clemson is actually playing some of their best ball right now, because if you're consistent with your defense and that ball is going through the net, you got a chance against anybody. South Carolina still, in my mind, if you take out Kentucky because they're a different animal, has for the most part played consistent defense throughout. But when that ball does not go through the net, their energy is just sapped, and for whatever reason, they have lost confidence in scoring, including the fact that when you start to miss layups, even though contested, that tells me that your confidence has been bruised in a tremendous fashion.
Yeah, I agree with you. And South Carolina, just since they entered SEC play, whatever outside shooting they had has just departed them. They've got no one that they can count on for any sort of consistent outside shooting. Teams can afford to pack it in. Not that Kentucky needed to worry about that with all their size inside, but I mean, Thornwell gave it a good go, and he scored a lot of points late. The 20 points he had is a little bit misleading because those points, several of them came in the last couple of minutes of the ball game when it was way, way out of reach. But I mean, they had no rebounds from Henry or Hakafis. You can't have your two big guys in there come away with 0 rebounds. And also they got into early foul trouble. But I know Kentucky can do that. But, I mean, South Carolina just played Kentucky a few weeks ago. Certainly they should have had a better approach, a better game plan. I just don't think South Carolina should go into Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, anywhere and get beat by 30-some-odd points. I just don't think that they should be doing that at this stage in year 3 of Frank Martin's program. But it is what it is, and I know Kentucky's had their close calls, and they've beaten some people badly. That might have been, without checking the notes, that might have been the widest margin of victory Kentucky's had in SEC play this year. I just don't think South Carolina should be getting beat by 30-some-odd points, no matter who they're playing.
Well, I think they were beaten when they walked in the building. It's almost like
but there's no excuse for that. You can't say you're beat when you walk in the building.
Oh, that's what I'm telling you. I can explain to you. You can look at body language when guys hit the court. You know, you can look at it and tell. I think another thing, just from a personnel standpoint, a settling force for that team, especially in a lot of ball games, is not there. I understand that Marcus Stroman is now out of the hospital. But he will not accompany the team to Georgia. And I thought, which each game he was showing more maturity, more maturation to his game, and that's hurt them some as well.
Let's see. Kentucky beat Missouri back on January 13th by 49 points. So that was not their biggest. They beat the Gamecocks by 33. They beat Missouri by 49 in Lexington. So I guess there's other teams that have been whooped worse than the Gamecocks were. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, USC pitching coach Jerry Myers will join us. We'll talk about the first weekend of the season now behind the Gamecocks, his thoughts on the pitching, and looking ahead to this week, what his pitching plans are. We'll also hear from USC coach Frank Martin later in the program as well. We'll do some recruiting in our next hour or two, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And we'll take some calls as well. 800-956-7266 is our number here on Sports Talk on this Monday night. We come to you from McCamish Pavilion at Georgia Tech. And tell you what else makes this building really nice is that they have the theater lighting where the sidelines are darkened and all you have really lit up is the court. And that just looks so cool, both in person and on television. We'll be back with more in a moment. Is it hanging in there better?
Yeah, I got bad there for a second. Once you reconnected, it was definitely better.
Okay. Well, it's going to get that way sometimes.
GC's got it. They got 5 minutes of video if you want it.
They got what? Now, you want to get it from you? It's not up on the USC site?
Not yet, nope.
Well, come on, get it. That's where you have to get it. I wonder why they haven't put it up there. Why would they not put Frank Martin up right away?
You're the lazy.
Making sense. Hey, did they play that Boston College-Miami game this afternoon? Did it get postponed again?
91-86. Who was it, Pro? Who won?
course, the USC women continued to play extremely well after their loss to Connecticut last week. And the new ranking out this week by the Associated Press, USC women picking up a couple of impressive blowout SEC victories after the the loss to UConn. And South Carolina now 24-1, ranked number 2 in the AP poll behind UConn. Then it's Baylor, Notre Dame, and Maryland. Tennessee, which comes to Columbia soon to play USC, is ranked number 6. Guys, I think that's pretty fair. I know South Carolina was blown out by UConn, and UConn deserves to be number 1 based on that. But considering how they bounced back and won impressively against SEC competition the next 2 times out, I think that that showed that right now they're not as good as UConn, but perhaps they're better than everybody else in the top 10.
Well, in fact, the coaches were consistent in having UConn number 1 even before their game. The coaches in AP disagree, but it's interesting. South Carolina is tough at home. They have a home court advantage now. Sunday was 15,000 plus in the place, and guys, believe it or not, South Carolina is actually leading the nation in women's attendance, 11,000 plus each game, and that usurps Tennessee, who usually averages about 10 or 11. They're averaging only 9 this year, and they got a big blowcorn coming in here next week at a 9 o'clock tip for what many believe will be for the SEC regular season title, because Kentucky has lost Isabel Harrison, their leading scorer and rebounder, their big woman in the middle, and she's out for the season with a torn ACL. She suffered early in that Kentucky game yesterday.
Well, it's interesting. It just shows if you put a exciting product and winning product on the floor, the USC fans will support the product, K-Mac. I mean, the men are drawing flies for the most part right now with the games they've been playing at home of late, with the exception of Kentucky. But I think it certainly would be different if they could get it going and be in a position to compete for an SEC regular season title, or at least an upper division finish. If they were around the 9, 10, 11 SEC win mark, somewhere up in there, and playing really good basketball, I think the fans would come out and support the men's team as well.
No doubt. I mean, this is a basketball state. I mean, if you think about the history and some of the great players, everybody loves football. I'm not trying to pretend basketball is bigger than football, but this is a state that is really hungry, especially in Columbia, especially around the university. Those fans are starving for something to kind of wrap their arms around, and every time they think they're going to get it, it's snatched out away from them. And it has been year after year after year. They have had more success in football in the Southeastern Conference than basketball, and it's not even really close. And it's so much harder to build a football program than a basketball program.
And Missouri is having the same problem right now.
Jay Myers, you got his number? Stay, man.
Yeah, sorry, I hit the damn talkback button, forgetting you weren't there.
Yeah, you got.
Yeah, I got Jerry.
Okay. Dang. You know, the Citadel still has not No, they've won once now, I think, since he was on the show with us.
The Keys.
Gamecocks hosting Furman on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. They had a new announcer they've hired for the Gamecock network. A guy named Brad. Is it Brad Bowling? Came from Charlotte. How am I sounding with the band in the background?
That's not too bad. I would do just like you did with K-Mac the other night. I would up and down with your mic there a little bit as you go in and out.
Yeah.
I can control you a lot on this end as well.
Mm-hmm. Let me know when you have Coach online.
Calling him now. All right, I got him on line point.
Beautiful. Y'all getting that Frank Martin stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna go rip it once I bring you guys up here.
Okay.
Stand by, gentlemen. Here we go.
We are back at Sports Talk on a Monday night. Phil Kornblut in Atlanta at McCamish Pavilion here for the Clemson and Georgia Tech basketball game. Be tipping off here in about 21 minutes or so. Back at our studios in downtown Columbia. Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes. More on this game coming up in a little bit, but right now let's turn our attention to baseball as we welcome into Sports Talk for the first time this season USC pitching coach Jerry Myers. And, Coach, welcome in. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Hey, we are doing great. Thank you so much for being with us. First of all, your overall take on the opening weekend for the Gamecocks. I guess the sky is not falling after you had the audacity to lose on opening day.
Yeah, the sky was out there today. It was a little cold, and we were out there practicing, but, what was going into that series, well known for us anyway, with what Carlton Charleston had done last year and who they returned. We didn't know how the series would go. We knew we could play pretty well and still have our hands full. And getting 2 out of 3s, we'll take that and move on and keep trying to get better. But the squad that Monty Lee's put together and what he has in this year's club is probably as good or better than what he had last year, and he did pretty well.
Yes, they did. That was a tough test to open the season, and to come back and win the doubleheader was big for you guys on Saturday. Your general impression of the pitching, starting pitching, relief, closing, what did you think of what you got on the mound?
Well, overall, I was pleased with our production. We for the most part, we threw strikes, didn't give up too many free ones, and we played some good defense. Obviously, we didn't make an error all weekend, and had some double play balls that ended up being big outs for us in a couple of the jams. 4 or 5 of the jams that we were in, or with guys on base a couple different times, and in all 3 games. So it was a good opportunity for a few of our new guys that haven't pitched a college inning yet to get in there, and a couple of them contributed pretty well and got a couple big outs for us, along with getting pretty good quality pitching, starting pitching, even out of Wynkoop. It wasn't his best outing, and we got behind on Friday, but as it turned out, I mean, he was ready to go, and it was one of those kind of emotional games opening day, and their guy was throwing really well, and when we got behind, we just couldn't make up the margin. But Will Crow the next day, obviously he set the tone, and as much as you can set a tone for the day, he pretty much did that on the mound, and we kind of followed suit with what we did offensively, and it carried over into the second game of the doubleheader, which was huge for us, having dropped that first game. So, all in all, Taylor Widener came in, and we asked him to get the bulk of the last 3 innings, and he was throwing it very well, and had a little rough patch in the ninth, but his stuff was what we were looking for late in games, and having not pitched in game 1 or game 2, we knew we could extend his outing past 4 or 5, 6 outs. So we had him to get, I guess it was 8 outs, and we won't do that only in those scenarios when he goes, a weekend series and haven't pitched in the first 2, but that probably won't happen at all.
What was Taylor hitting on the gun? Just listening to Coach Holbrook's post-game comments, he was talking about how hard he was throwing, even his curveball and some of his other breaking pitches. He throws really hard. What was he hitting on the gun with his fastball?
Well, I mean, he wasn't throwing exceptionally hard compared to some of the other guys. I mean, Will Crow kind of gets it up there as well, but Taylor was probably 92 to 94, might touch a 5 or 2, 95, and he's not sitting there at 94, 95 all the time. But when he's throwing the ball well and getting good finish on his pitches, it even looks a little harder, even 92 or 93. But his off-speed stuff is good. It's a good hard slider when he throws it right, and he throws that into low to mid 80s or 84, 85 sometimes with a slider, and that good velocity on his fastball. That's where he's trying to get. He won't always have that every time out. He needs to be able to be equally effective when maybe his fastball's down a click at 90, 92, and maybe his slider's breaking a little bigger, and there'll be days where maybe he's not quite, as strong as he was, at least for the first, 5, 6, 7 hitters that he faced the other day. But that's the thing he had. He can bring a changeup in there, and he can add another pitch, and he can mix it up if he has to in an extended outing. But that's about where his velocity is right now, and that was good to see. That's where, that's not midseason form in terms of arm shape, but he's in a good spot this early in the year.
Talking with USC pitching coach Jerry Myers. All right, so Wynkoop takes the loss in the opener, 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Was there anything in particular that you saw in that outing that concerned you, or was it just one of those outings? It's always concerning if when a guy gives up a few runs and we get behind, and so overall the outing in general, was a tough one as it ended up, but stuff wise and kind of his command and really the quality of the pitches that he had was maybe a tick off of where he had been in the inter-squad games that we had going into opening day. He was really, really sharp, but they really give Charleston a lot of credit. They didn't do as much offensively in Game 2 and Game 3, but they came out ready, swinging the bat. They had some infield hits. They put a lot of balls in play off Jack that ended up
you know, you got to give them a lot of credit. They put some balls in play with 2 strikes and hit a couple balls hard, but also found a few holes with them as well, and kind of kept them on the ropes a little bit in the 4th through the 6th innings, and they were able to string you know, some momentum and put up a 3 spot that kind of hurt us there in the 4th or 5th inning, and their guy on the mound was throwing extremely well, so it was a bad scenario all in all. But he really didn't throw the ball poorly. He had been lights out in our scrimmages and maybe as good as he's looked. That was a little less than what we saw in the last couple scrimmages. So, but you know, he prepares and mentally and physically he's ready to go, and he can take that same outing and have better results. You know, without having to have better stuff than what he had, and we've seen him do it before. So. You know, it's something that he's experienced enough with as many starts that he has that he knows they're all going to be exactly where he wants them.
All right, Coach, you've got Furman at home tomorrow afternoon. Matthew Vogel going to the mound, and what do you expect to see from him?
Well, we just want Matt to be down in the zone and be consistent. Matt's got a special arm. He's worked extremely hard. He didn't pitch a lot last year, as we know, but you know, hopefully that experience that he did get and being a year older with what we've seen in his workouts and just his overall control of what he's doing this year, it's night and day. So we're excited to get him out there. We didn't get him in this weekend, and you know, he's a possible versatile guy. He's a possibility out of the bullpen for us. He's a guy that could start. He has multiple pitches, and you know, he has a really, really live arm, and those guys only you know, can get in the groove if you can get them in games and you can get them out there in crucial situations and important situations, and there's no more important situations than to start off a game, and he's versatile enough where we feel like he can start and relieve for us. So we just want him to throw strikes, let our defense play, and when he gets ahead of hitters, he's got as good a stuff as anybody we've got to put him away.
All right, Coach, we thank you as always. Good luck tomorrow. We'll talk to you again soon as the Gamecocks take on Furman at Carolina Stadium tomorrow afternoon. And the first pitch is scheduled for 4 o'clock over at Carolina Stadium. That is USC pitching coach Jerry Myers. We thank him for being with us tonight. We'll be back with more. Got a little recruiting information coming up for you as well. Also, USC basketball coach Frank Martin a little bit later on. Back in a moment.
Well done.
Yep, good job on your end.
Let me go rip this real fast. I'll be right back.
Okay.
And head coach Brian Gregory. Welcome to the Chemist Pavilion for tonight's game, featuring your
Chemist Pavilion
and your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Fans make the most of tonight's game and upgrade your seats using the Plus Memory program at gatech.expapp.com. Plus Memory upgrades are also available in the GT Game Day mobile app in the iTunes Store.
Do.
Tech fans, make sure you get your official Georgia Tech gear at Barnes & Noble, located behind Section 115. Share your tweets and Instagram with hashtag GT Game Day for a chance to be featured on the video board.
Of course, as soon as I start rolling, they put the good one up there. Let me go stop and start the new one.
Huh? From where? The USC thing? USC site? Dun, 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 dun. Do, 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 do.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, USC's got Martin up now. You can get
I synced it now.
beautiful. I'm going to mention that Coastal Carolina giveaway thing here. I'm going to say the first caller in with the correct answer. Not on the air. We'll take it off the air.
Wait, say that one more time. Sorry.
Yeah, first caller in off the air. Just take the answer off the air.
We're doing the same one?
Say what? Yeah, same question.
Oh, okay. Did nobody get it last week?
You took that. We only did it on Friday, and you took the calls. Nobody got the correct answer, did they?
Right. I thought you were talking about doing it via email, right?
Say what? Say again? Okay, back in Atlanta at McCamish Pavilion. Thanks once again to Jerry Myers for being with us tonight on Sports Talk. We'll check in with Clemson baseball later in the week with Coach Leggett or one of the assistants after they get some of their game action in this week. Another thing I love about the arena is it's got the ribbon all the way around the upper deck, and it's just a very classy-looking place. Of course, it's new, so it's still clean, but excellent sight lines. And it also has a, when you're walking around on the mid-level, well, I guess there's only one level to walk around because all the seats are down except for the upper deck where you walk up. But the concourse that encircles the primary bowl, there's nothing blocking your sight. So if you're walking to concessions or men's room, ladies' room, you can always keep an eye on the court as you walk around that part of the arena. So it's really, really a neat place. If you haven't had a chance to see it in person, you come to Atlanta, you got to check it out. It's the old arena where they used to play. They just totally gutted the old place. They're going.
Yeah, that was Alexander Memorial Coliseum back then, and of course it was the safe haven for the SEC tournament a few years ago when that tornado hit in downtown Atlanta.
A desolate. It was just an empty arena. They didn't let any fans
right,
in.
Right.
And Georgia ended up winning it.
Just family and friends. Yeah. The SEC tournament, the ACC logo sitting there. Again, K-Mac, Georgia Tech, a sleeping giant. You're in one of the most bustling cities in America. Basketball sitting right there. Crimmins had it going. Paul Hewitt had him in the Final Four with a freshman front court player by the name of Chris Bosh. And everybody thought if Bosh would have returned his sophomore year, Georgia Tech was going back into the Final Four. But Bosh elected to go in the NBA, and Georgia Tech hadn't been the same since.
No, they haven't. They did have it rolling, trying to get it back. You thought Hewitt might get it done, but it just has not transpired for them at this point. Let's hit the phones real quick. I think Corn, we lost him there. They're doing the anthem, I believe, so we'll try to check back in with him. And if we don't get him before tip, we will check in at halftime. Alex is in Greenville, hopefully staying warm and dry wherever he is in Greenville.
Fellas, I'm going to hang up, and I'd like to hear you all talk a little bit about Atlanta Braves for the 2015 season.
Okay, I think they're going to be bad.
Yeah, they're not going to be
bad.
Threatening the Washington Nationals, who seems to be the odds-on favorite in the East. The Braves have ejected all of their players except their first baseman. They're rebuilding for the new stadium in 2017. Right now, they started off, I'll put it this way, they started off with probably the 15th or 16th team as far as minor league prospects are concerned. After trading away all their veterans, now they're in the top 5, which tells you their rebuilding mode came back for about the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and I didn't understand it. They needed to tweak some things, obviously, but last year they weren't terrible. They were just a couple of pieces away. They had some bad contracts, and I know once you get a bad contract, you can't really unload a B.J. Upton who can't hit his weight, and they had a bad contract in Dan Ugla that they just said, you know what, we'll pay you not to be here. So those mistakes will hurt you, but they've gone into full-fledged, let's just rebuild, let's try to load up on prospects, and I think just ride out the Turner Field years as a really bad team, and then maybe by the time we get to the new stadium that we're building across town, we'll have a winner again. But they do not seem very focused on having a winner right now in Atlanta.
No, obviously they've got a pretty good shortstop. First baseman is good. Nick Markakis, that is going to be a key there. I mean, here's a guy who's a tremendous outfielder, can hit, but he's not a guy that's going to hit with power, and he's coming off neck surgery. So, again, you're looking at a team that really has a lot of holes, and if they surprise people, we'll see. The only other team that I think surprised people for the last few years because they just had dominant pitching is that ragtag bunch in San Francisco, who somehow have won, 3 World Series in the last 5 years? But they did it with dynamic pitching that the Braves have decent pitching, and they have some good young arms. And, of course, their bullpen is tremendous as far as their save situations are concerned. But it's a rebuilding mode right now, and I wouldn't be surprised they wouldn't finish as low maybe as 4th in the East this year.
All right, we will check back in with Corn one more time before they throw the ball in the air in Atlanta with Clemson and Georgia Tech. Also, a sad note to pass along out of the Clemson basketball program, former player passing away, coming down from Clemson today, Chris Hobbs. Remember him? He played for Larry Shyatt, and he played 1 year for Oliver Purnell. He passed away, 33 years old. All right, still doing the pregame festivities over in Atlanta, so we'll check in with Corn probably after the top of the hour. Here's more on the Chris Hobbs story. Again, when I saw this, I was shocked to see that Chris Hobbs had passed away. Remember him well. I mean, he's only 33 years old.